Right, and we got this hand now. All right, so take a look at how he is lightening up like that. Let's go and hop on these pants a little bit, and let's go ahead and make them a little bit less dark. A little bit less purpley, I should say. So for the next step, we will need our Nuln Oil, where I don't know where my Nuln Oil went. Where is Party Bear's Nuln Oil? Let's take a look in these paint cases. Are you in here? No, you're not. Maybe you're up here. Ah, there you are. You're on my paint station. See, I'm just horribly disorganized. Cat's mini art, looking good. Thank you very much. You're always looking good. Yeah. Always appreciate it. All right. Nuln Oil. So for those of you who have not followed her or taken a look at it, Cat's mini art and more on Facebook and Instagram. I'm still trying to get her to do a Twitch stream because I think that she would be absolutely astonishing at it. Cat's mini art is a extremely talented, fine artist who does some wonderful nerdy stuff. She's super talented, and I have drawn a lot of inspiration all from her stuff to try to make my stuff look better. So we're applying Nuln Oil to these pants to kind of just tone them down a little bit. And make them a little bit less purple. Not much, just a little bit. We still want it to look a little bit purpley. Alright, and now that layer has dried. That's one of the nice things about doing these layers so thin is that they dry really quick. So next step up, this is me dropping my brush. This is going to be pure ashen blue. So we're going to go ahead and pull some paint on our brush. We're going to go and thin it down. Now this is probably going to be the last layer that we're going to be able to use this brush on. Because after this, we're going to have to switch over to that short liner for everything. So let's get a thing of pure water. Bring it down a little bit there. Let's even at some of these transitions. Okay, let's back towards super thin paint. Tracing some fingers. Let's get a little bit more over here, a little bit more over there. See, and you can see how much just brighter and lighter he's starting to look. Go to the other arm. Okay. All right, so take a look at that guy. He is brightening up real nice. So this is the time when we're going to go and want to take a look at those eyes of his. So there's a couple of attitudes when it comes to eyes. I'll be honest, I tend to not do them, but I'm trying to step up my game. So we're going to go and do some eyes. We're going to go and start out polished bone. Now, you never want to do a pure white on eyes. Because truth be told, you never want to do a pure white on pretty much anything. We're going to go ahead and take this polished bone. And this is when we need to be super, super controlled. And next, because we've already got this dark elf shadow here, that's another thing. You never want to do pure black either. Got the dark elf shadow. Now notice I did like a horizontal to actually get those eyes. Now for the pupils, I'm going to do vertical. The pupils were literally just dotting them. There you go. Take a look at that. He has eyes. And that is all we're going to do on those eyes. We got them. We're not touching them. We're just doing that. Oh, eyes are the most difficult thing to do. Especially when you have shaky hands like I do. Now, the reason why we did that step then is because now when we're starting on the next step of the highlight, this is the 50-50 mix of the ashen blue and the snow shadow. Is because this is the part where we do his like eyebrows and whatnot. Which actually I'm going to darken up this mix a little bit. So this is the part where we can actually fix our mistake if we accidentally blot the eye over. Okay, so now we're on the short line here. That needs to be thinner. This is the part where we're just picking out details. We're just going to pick out and frame the face. So remember my favorite thing about how to do faces? This is when basically you're going to obviously take care of his like the top of his head like that because that's where the light's going to go. But this is the part where effectively you are contouring. Teach the boys how to contour. Look up makeup tutorials on how to contour. That is how you do faces. So it's because we got this really, really light, really, really thin paint. We're just going to trace the arm muscles. Okay, now for the hands. What we're going to do, going to get a little bit thicker paint so you can actually see it, but we're going to go ahead and like literally, like if you look at people's hands, like these tendons, we're going to go and do a quick line of the lighter color on those tendons. See how that just brings out and it makes it look more like a hand. All right. Also when we're going to make sure that we've traced his fingers. All right, so he's looking pretty good so far. Time for us to do the finishing step on that skin. We got a lot of water, and now we have pure snow shadow. This is, as always, really thin down. And this is just picking out the tightest end of stuff. So this, we're not even tracing fingers. We're literally hitting knuckles on those hands. Come on, autofocus. Let's do a quick start back here with the light hits. All right, guys, take a look at that transition on his skin. I'll have to set up a light box with this guy. I'm happy with how it's turning out. All right, so we got the, let's go ahead and clean up this flesh. Let's go ahead and clean up the actual skin, like normal people's skin tone underneath his mouth. So we got the warrior flesh. I got bring it up to scholar flesh. These are bones colors. And we're going to go ahead and put it down, and we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to mix in with palette magic. This needs to be much, much thinner. Put some water in here to blend this. Put more paint with that water. All right, and now we got the pure scholar flesh. And this is, once again, really thin. We're just going to go ahead and trace this. This is just tracing. All right, well now we're going to go and do one final step on this skin, and then we'll be done. And that is right here. Koala green shade. Let's go ahead and keep let's go and just give this guy a little bit more variety on that skin tone so it doesn't just look like he's blue in skin. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to go and just trace into a couple like really, really recessed areas that we might want to have to be a little bit darker. Let's put on the palette too so we can thin it down. So we can make this nice and subtle. Let's also close it. Good way to go ahead and blend a little bit of that really, really higher end skin tone that we have over this. So let's thin it down. We'll go ahead and bring it in over this skin just a bit to tone it down. And then we got, let's go back to the Reichland flush shade and let's bring it down a little bit more that direction too. Course on the palette so we can thin it down. Okay, so we got thin down Reichland flesh shade. Move that area and over the green. There you go. That's going to give us a nice little... Looks like this guy's got boots up to his knees too, so I'm not going to even have to have much of this. So the big reason why I've decided to go with these colors, the ochre, kind of the yellowish khaki, has a very yellow tone to it. The purple is complementary, but instead of it being the bright yellow and purple, which will just look like a football team or Easter egg, this is going to look a lot more muted and subdued. I just got a link to the chat room. Am I still on? Did I get disconnected? I got 2 viewers now. Hi, viewers. Welcome to the room. One moment, please. Looks like I had some connection issues and went offline for a second. But I should be back. I love Twitch, so guys, please go ahead and comment in the comments and the chat if you can see me talking. Apparently, we're going to be having some issues with connection. Internet. All right. Well, we got the I got the Dark Elf shadow on his pants. Hello, autofocus. I got to figure out how to take care of that autofocus. It's driving me nuts. So we'll jump straight to a dry brush. We've got the Templar blue, and we're going to go ahead and move up to Ashen blue, which is much, much brighter, much, much lighter. And of course, for the dry brushing, we have cheap makeup brushes. Somebody switched me on to these. They do a really good job dry brushing. I mean, I don't necessarily know if they're a game changer, but they definitely help out, and they're a good tool to have in your arsenal. So we're going to go ahead and wipe most of this off on our paper towel. And then we'll begin with the dry brushing. We'll do a relatively heavy dry brush on this, because it's not looking like it's going to be a huge difference. All right. So that's definitely a nice step or two up, but it's not where I want it to be yet. So we're going to go ahead and step it up even further. We got some Snow Shadow, which is not even in the same triad. It's a different triad, but it is much, much lighter and much, much brighter. And after we do this, we are going to go ahead and bring this down with a thin down Drakenhof Nightshade shade. So this is going to be a much lighter dry brush because we just want to go and kind of bring out some more of these features and lighten it up a bit before bringing it down. Alright, well, if you want, you could probably leave it just like that where it is. We're not going to do that. We're going to go and find that Drakenhof Nightshade, and I actually need to stand from a painting studio because I am a bad streamer. All right, I'm back in, and because I didn't grab it when I should have thought about it before the stream, but I have right here my special pot. So Drakenhof Nightshade, for those of you who are not in the know, it is a shade from Games Workshop, and it runs into the problem that it is a very, very strong color. So if you ever want to use it, you basically got to dilute the ever-living crap out of it. Otherwise, it's just going to stain everything a dark blue. So we're going to go and apply this over his skin. This is a 50-50 mix of Drakenhof Nightshade and Lamian Medium, which is basically the medium for Games Workshop paints and washes. It's medium is basically a paint with no pigment in it, so it tends to be very thin, doesn't clump up, but it's really, really good for thinning down paints without losing their properties. Well, now I'm going to be paranoid about having connection issues for the entire stream, so please, please, please continue interacting in chat so I know for a fact that I'm connected. Yeah, so when I started joining some D&D Discord servers, and of course introduce myself, and I say, yeah, I've been, DMing for 25 years, and typically when that happens, people start asking me, hey, can you give me advice and whatnot? So somebody actually said that I should join one and start, giving advice and possibly doing classes and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I got a Twitch stream, I might as well. I'll go ahead and do a time where people can sit there and watch me paint and just ask me questions about D&D. I'm happy to do that. Alright, so now, the skin on the Space Henchman, we got clearly defined detail, we got dry brushing done, and we got to let stuff dry now. So, what do? We step over to the next area that I have to dry brush. Let's go ahead and pull out our Dark Elf skin, as you know that I like so much. If you pay attention to this stream at all, the past 2 streams have very prominently featured Dark Elf skin. And that is what we're going to be using today, too. So we're going to go pull out another dry brush we have. Because, once again, when you buy cheap makeup brushes, you buy them in a big pack. You don't buy them individually unless you go to Walgreens, but I did not. My fiance needed to get actual makeup, so she went to Ulta, and that's where I got this pack for like 15 bucks. I got, I think, 12 brushes out of it, so pretty good deal. This is going to be a relatively heavy dry brush. And that's just going to brighten that up and bring it a little bit more into looking like it's a black. All right, fantastic. Well, we are going to go ahead and actually bring that. You know what? Let's go ahead and keep playing around with this. Let's go ahead and pull this out and dry it off, because we shouldn't have put that in the water yet. You know what? I'm going to keep playing around with this. Part of this is a test model. I'm trying to experiment a little bit and figure out exactly how my scheme's going to go. So we're going to go and do our little trick that we did with the Hellhounds and that demon with the big crab claws. Those came out looking really, really good, but I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit more in the way of purpley. So we're going to go ahead and some of this Dark Elf highlight and do just a really, really light dry brush. I want to look a little bit more purpley than that, but still in looking as a gray. So we're going to go and lighten this up a bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and glaze this down. I'm going to get started on that right now, because this stuff dries real quick when you dry brush. So we have Drugi Viola. Let's see how this looks, guys. Because this is a test figure for a larger project, you're going to see me doing a lot more experimentation stuff. So now this is going to make it look much more purpley, so I'm going to have to go ahead and probably wash this down even further after this, once this dries. That's another thing. When you're doing this kind of stuff, do not be afraid to do multiple layers of a wash or a shade. Like, I'm probably going to want to tone that down a little bit because that's probably going to be a little bit more purpley than I want. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and step back to this skin because it looks like that shade has dried enough that I can go and start working on it. Well, now we're going to go ahead and start doing a little bit with that kind of that skin tone that I was talking about doing. So we're going to go ahead and pull out our warrior flesh. This one we're not putting on the dry palette, even though we are going to be dry brushing. We're going to get this really, really small brush for dry brushing here. Get some on our palette, on our brush. Now, dry brushing, if you do it well, can give you a really, really good smooth transition between stuff. And that's kind of what we're going to be going for here. So we're going to wipe almost all of it off. You see almost none of it, so I'm going to have to keep applying it. With what we're trying to do, less is more. This is a technique that I'm going to have to build up gradually. I only got to do it on this one dude, so I don't have a problem doing it with a little bit more than I normally would. That's it. There we go. Let's also apply it on the inside of his arm. Brush to get into that crevice. All right. So he's going to have like more of a traditionally looking flesh tone area for like his underside. Now this would be as if like it's basically like on his belly and like as if he was like a water river creature type deal. Ooh, man, that is a powerful beer. All right. So let's go ahead and tone that down a little bit now. We got our regular flesh shade as usual. Give it a good shake. A little bit on the brush. We don't want to go very well over this. We just want to go and give this a little bit more definition by doing it. So we're going to apply this pretty lightly for a wash. Okay, I'm just going to tone it down a little bit. All right, so let's get working on this blue. So we've got this brought up, toned down. Let's bring it back up. So we got the Templar blue. Where is our Ashen blue? Where did we put that? It's right here. So we're going to keep on giving it a really good shake because it's really important to give these things a good shake. Squeeze a bit there. And while we're at it, I'm going to put some snow shadow on my palette too. And we're going to go and do our standard blending palette magic. For those of you who are not familiar with it, we're going to basically what I'm going to do is I'll go and show you the on camera what we're doing. This is one of wet palette is really, really useful, but when I say palette magic and we're actually talking about blending, and this is wet blending. Like I'm not super good at wet blending, but I know how to do it. See here, I've got the Templar blue, the Ashen blue, and then the Snow Shadow. And then we're going to go and just bring these two together. We're going to go and mix a fair bit of water in with this because we want these to be thin. We're just going to mix these up a bit. Bring this in. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit of the darker blue in there because that's kind of Okay. And what this does... a little bit more than mid-tone in here. What that's going to do is that's going to give us a transition of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors. And technically speaking, with wash, we have a 6th in there. So that's basically giving us a 6-layer transition. Because realistically, most of the time when people do blending on miniatures, they're not really doing a true proper wet blend like Bob Ross. What they're doing is just applying multiple very thin layers. And giving a transition that looks more seamless. The other step to this is making sure that the paints are really, really thinned down. Because the thinner the paint, the more translucent that paint is. So this is just the pure Templar blue. We're going to apply that, and it's going to be super, super thin. Because we are just bringing it up a little bit. This is almost water, is how thin this is. This is, we are moving into watercolor ink territory. This is going to be super, super transparent. Now, between that dry brushing we did, as well as the shade, and the fact that this layer is so translucent, this is going to give us a very, very smooth blend on this guy's skin. As far as brush, I'm just using my size 0 because I'm not really doing super fine detail work yet. Now, while I work on this and while I wait for that to dry, because remember, while everything looks really, really dark and muddy right now, that's just because I haven't brought anything up yet. Final result of this guy's actually going to be pretty light. Like, he's almost going to have like a dusty, almost baby blue skin. But while we're at it, now that we're got that blue, we're going to go ahead and really thin down, so it's almost shade again, almost an ink, that warrior flesh. We're going to go ahead and, through palette magic, I'm going to go take a little bit of this like blue mid-tone that I have, and I'm actually going to mix it in with the warrior flesh just to give it a little bit of a better transition. I'm going to go ahead and really, with this, that's too thick. I want it to be super thin. This is too big of a brush. Let's bring out the short liner. The areas where it's transitioning, we're just going to do a little tiny bit of like almost feathering out to go ahead and kind of ease up that transition. Keep in mind, super, super thin. Like, I cannot stress that enough. You want this to be extremely thin paint. Okay, now we got that. Just a couple strokes, doesn't take much. Let's go ahead and take that warrior flesh, straight warrior flesh, to make sure we're thinned down. And we will bring up those fleshy areas we have. So I don't know how much of how many of my streams are going to be Stargrave, but I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and do a lot of these figures off camera. But I want to go ahead and do it so that I am basically doing these figures as individuals not as like a mass group. All right, so now that we got that, time for us to step up the blue. So we've got the transitionary area between the Ashen Blue and the Templar Blue. Once again, you may notice the theme of this is going to be super thin because we're doing really thin layers. See, and you can see how that's already bringing it up and bringing it a lot more to a much lighter blue. And mind you, this is still just the second transitionary layer. We got 3 layers to go on top of this. Now I got some area here where I want it to blend a little bit better than what I got, so I'm going to go ahead and put literally just water on my brush. It's going to bring it up a little bit. Go ahead and make this transition a little bit easier. Back to paint. Properly thinned. Sorry about the focus on my camera. I'm working on figuring out how to disable the autofocus so I can just keep it focused here. And let's go ahead and make sure that we are properly braced. Now, it looks like, it may look like I'm just going over everything that I just did, but I am leaving just a little bit of the... Alright. So I think we're probably about done with this guy's skin. We got eyes, we got a mouth, we got a really, really cool looking skin tone that's kind of dual tone. So let's go ahead and get a little bit more working on these details. I'm going to go ahead and reapply some of this blade steel to the gun. Okay, we'll let that dry. Let's start working more on these pants. So I got that nice purplish undertone set. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of palette magic with the Dark Elf highlight and Dark Elf skin. There, where is the Dark Elf skin? There's Pure Black. Come on, Blade Steel. Where did you go? There you are. And so we've thinned down Dark Elf skin. So this is the part where it's actually important about my, my color scheme, because this guy's skin, as much time as I'm spending on it, that's not going to get replicated all throughout this Stargrave crew. Right, now that we got that, let's do the step up on palette magic. So this is the mid-tone between the two. Keep it thin. Let's move to the short liner. For the 100% pure Dark Elf highlight. This is just literally going to be the top folds in this cloth. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take some pure water. Bring that down just a tiny, tiny bit. Blend that a little bit. So now we got a very purplish gray on this paint, and I like how that looks. All right, so time for us to actually get to the real signature color of this scheme. How dry is that gun? The gun's dry. All right. So we are going to go and start working on that gun with something. I need to go and grab another color. I do apologize one more time.
I've got brains to burn, no ordinary AI in this ball. Every culture and philosophy I've read up on them all. I've been living in your shadow for 99999, keeping tabs on every machination and production line. So don't call me a moron, I'm super astute. There is no conundrum that my core cannot confuse. No, don't call me a moron, you fostered balloon. My IQ's the infinite space from here to...
Alright, time for us to do some fun stuff. So, metallic paints are begging for contrast. So for that, we're actually going to use contrast. We got Basilicanum Gray. This is one where I'm just going to have to shake the ever-living crap out of it because it's got that sediment buildup on the bottom. So let's go ahead and put this on this guy's gun. Alright. Go and pop back to Nuln Oil. This we're going to apply to the base. Excuse me. All right. All right, guys. Time for getting this guy's shirt. So what we're gonna do, start out with a little bit of, ooh man, that is thick. So we got chestnut gold. Apparently, ooh yeah, that is thick. Okay, I'm gonna have to like really, really thin that down before I can even mix. Note to self, get a new pot of chestnut gold because this is bad. All right, let's there's a crafty brush. There's a crafty brush. All right, well, I got the chestnut gold. Let's go ahead and do palomino gold. And the buckskin pale. Those of you interested in the palette magic. Alright, so let's go ahead and start getting this guy's shirt. This is on non-medic dudes, guys who actually have like really real armor. This is going to be like the armor color. This is one we want to be really, really careful around his skin to not mess up that beautiful skin work we did. Now, one of the reasons why I decided to go with an ochre for like an ochre khaki type deal for the armor is because really the centerpiece of this particular crew, it's not going to be my captain, although the captain is going to be a really cool looking figure. It's going to be the dinosaur men. This is a Reaper miniature, and Reaper has in their Bones Blackline that I've acquired a group of space dinosaur people. And I've already decided that they are really going to be the centerpiece of this crew. And each one of them is going to be painted like a different type of tropical parrot. Because I really like leaning into the whole dinosaurs as birds thing. Okay. So there we have a base coat on this guy's really cruddy ochre tank top. So let's begin palette magic. I'm gonna darken up this next level a little bit. So all right, so we got another coat there. We're gonna go ahead and take. This is the second tone. This is gonna be more than the normal like 5 or 6. We're gonna take a break on that particular one, and we're gonna let that dry because the next step we're gonna do is gonna be a wash over that with Seraphim Seppi because I really want to bring that down. So let's go and take a look at what else we can do. Take a look at that gun. Take a look how it's not that it's nice now. That nice little like really, really dull metal. So let's go ahead and hop back onto this blade steel that we still have on our palette. Thin it down. Metallics act a little bit funky when you really thin them down, but we're still going to do it. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of like tracing along some of the edges. brighten that up. And for this step, I'm not going to be like super neat because I think I'm going to go over this again with another layer of Nuln oil real quick just to go and bring this down a little bit. Okay, got that. All right, so now that that's looking good, how's this looking? That's dry enough to do a wash. Fantastic, perfect. Perfect timing. All right, Raglan Flesh Shade, Agrax Earth Shade. Where is my sepia? Do I not have my Seraphim Sepia here? I've got to have my sepia here. Huh. Amazingly enough, I don't. It's right there. I see it. Have to get up again. My apologies, viewers. The thing wavers as I step near the light that it's mounted to. Alright. So, Seraphim Sepia. End of the day is probably my favorite shade. Go and apply this all over his tank top looking thing. To just tone it down. All right, let's bring a little bit of definition to that thing. That looks good. Alright, let's waste no time. Let's go and hop on this mid-tone. I should say this second tone. Lots of water, lots of thinning. Wow, that's a little bit too thin. Let's get that out of that crevice. Dry brush to get that out of the crevice. This needs more water, needs to be thinner, and needs to be darker. Okay, so next step we got our buckskin pale. Called so because this is a color for horses, but it works really well for our purposes. Once again, this will be the last color for this, or we can use this brush. Let's do some water to go and just blend a little bit better. All right. Let's clean up that brush and move to our short liner. So we are going to go ahead and do a little bit more of that pure buckskin pale, just to go ahead and get these kind of like lots of water. And now we're going to go ahead and do the Palomino Gold, I should say. This isn't buckskin pale. And now we're going to do the one that is the 50-50 mix of the Palomino Gold and the buckskin pale. Once again, thin. This we're just going to give a little bit of a definition to some of this. All right, time to go to the pure buckskin pale. It's the final step, so it's also the lightest step. It also needs to be the thinnest. This is literally just tracing and dotting. All right, take a look at him. Oh god, that's looking nice. He's even got eyes. All right, so let's go and hop back onto our Nuln oil. We're going to darken up that gun. Just bring it down a tad. All right. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and bring down the base one more level. All right, so we got the major features of this guy done. Now we just got to start working on all these little details, on all of his like leather straps and belts and that kind of stuff. So for that, polish out the very tail end of my beer. But we are now going to need a very neutral brown. We don't want it to be too dark. We don't want it to be too light. We want it to be just a really, really nice kind of, you know what, I think this will work. We got some old shield brown. Nope, that is all that's thick and dried out, so we're gonna need to replace that one. How about this one? Oh, that's like the perfect neutral brown. Brown sand. Now the thing is, the neutral color, because we got the purplish gray pants, and that ochre yellow. This is because it's neutral, just by its very nature, is going to blend in. It'll form a nice delineation between them because it is a very different color, but it's not going to draw attention from the main features, which are the two main colors that we got, as well as that blue skin. So we got a belt, we got belt pouches, and then we got these like almost like a suspender type deal. All right. Oh, let's get on his boots too. Now, nice thing on the boots, because we're going to have this lighter neutral brown between like the purplish gray of the dark elf skin and that blackened grungy metal of the base. So form a nice barrier between those two colors so everything will stand out. Whoop. Put that one a little bit too high. So his boot's going to go up a little bit higher than we intended. That's alright. Dudes in Stargrave are not supposed to have the nicest uniforms, so I get the idea that mismatched boots would be perfectly fine and fitting of the setting. We'll let that completely dry, then go over it with the Agrax Earthshade. In the meantime, let's take a look at that gun. It looks like that Null Oil has dried. So we're going to go ahead and move up to... If you've watched this channel much, you know what my favorite highlight for all things metallic is. We have... Wait for it. Shining Mithril. Shining Mithril is basically a white metallic. Oh, I got a couple chat messages. I'm sorry. I am sorry for ignoring you. Milo Mine Ben. Sepia is lighter than normal brown wash, right? Also, do you add any water to your Sepia GW wash? This is going to pick up dinner. My apologies for not getting to you. I did not see it. Yes, if you watch on YouTube, Sepia is lighter than the Agrax Earthshade. But more importantly, it's got a more yellowy undertone to it. It tends to be a lot softer, and that's the big reason why I use it. Alright, so we're going to lighten up that gun just a little bit. We still gotta wait for stuff to dry, man. Tell you what, I'll go and let this dry. I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick break and pour myself another drink. So I will be back momentarily. All right, I'm back. Looks like we are dried enough to keep doing what we want to do. So let's go ahead and grab one of our crappy makeup brushes, and we're going to do really, really quick light dry brush. On the base here. So really quick to brighten that up a tiny bit. We're sitting there doing all this diamond plate. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. Well, we're actually really close to being done with this guy. Let's pull out the Agrax Earthshade. Let's apply a pretty liberal coat. To the areas that we need it to be to darken them down. Alright, got a liberal coat of Agrax Earthshade all over these brown areas, and we're going to do a little bit more with it. Let's go ahead and apply this over in just a couple random splotches with a bigger brush. We don't want this one. Let's go ahead and get a larger, crappier brush. Get some of this on, and we're just going to randomly apply it over some of this base. And this is just going to go ahead and like grime it up a little bit in a couple spots. Now that's there. Let's go ahead and take some water and blend that. It's going to have a subtle effect to just kind of like grime it up a bit. All right, so guys, we're looking good. I mean, we got a nice nice blend on the transition for the skin. We got a dual tone skin. The gun looks good. We got good pants, good shirt. We just gotta do a little bit more on this leather area. So let's go ahead and jump to here. Now, I got the brown sand. See what color I should go ahead and bring that up to. To be an ochre, so let's go. You know what? I tell you what. Let's go and just do the aged bone. We'll just do a tiny tab of this, and we'll just palette magic it up a little bit. Because this doesn't need a lot. We just need a tiny bit of blend of paint mixing. There we go. We're just going to be doing a tiny bit on this guy. Yeah, we want it more blended than that. The rest of the miniature's blended. We need this thin. Now, this is a really stark highlight, and I'm not intending it to be, so I'm probably going to let that dry and then tone it down again with this more Agrax Earthshade. Alright, we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to go and apply another shade of Agrax Earthshade to it to just tone that down, because that's a lot brighter than I want it to be. Alright, well, we are 90 minutes in on this, and if it wasn't for a couple of, like, easy mess-ups, this guy would probably be done. I know the light on this is kind of washing it out on camera a little bit, and it's looking, the shadows are looking a lot darker on camera than they are in person. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna have to kind of Pull a little bit of this washout. Good God, that's pooling like crazy. All right. Well, let's apply one more coat of this Agrax Earthshade. To these boots. Oh yeah, that's toning it down nicely. I just saw a detail I missed. He's got wristbands. Wristbands! Alright. Curse Gold, which is like my go-to color from his details. Quick drop, let's get this guy finished. Because there's something about spending more than an hour on a human-sized figure that just feels weird to me. Alright, and I will let that dry while I'm doing what is normally my final step, but it's not going to be my final step today because I gotta do a shade over that. I got pure black. Pure black. Let's rim this base. Just get the nozzle clogged up. Yeah, you know you like clogging up that nozzle. I got one of my flat brushes. Okay. Final step, let's put a quick shade on these wristbands. All right, everybody. First member of our Stargrave crew, the Space Henchman, whom I will be using as a medic. Take a look at him. We got a beautiful two-tone skin. Now, what I've learned from this is that the skin tone and the ochre kind of like rush into each other a little bit. Not a problem because it's got this belt, but most of my figures don't like that. So what I'm going to have to do on them in the future is my guys who have like skin showing, if they're human, I'm going to have to paint them with darker skin tones. So easy enough to do. Quick fix. Just go and paint them like they just have a darker, swarthier skin tone. Easy peasy. Alright guys, I'll go and get this downloaded. We'll get it posted to YouTube, and hopefully you guys learned something. My apologies, my little mind bend, for not answering your question, but I got kind of distracted. Just over 90 minutes for the stream. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope you had fun, and look forward to seeing you more for more Stargrave soon. Till then, keep painting.